Have you ever noticed that your body sometimes knows something before your mind does? Your shoulders tighten long before you realize you're anxious. Your breathing changes before you recognize you're afraid. Your stomach feels heavy, even when you keep telling yourself that everything is fine. It's almost as if the body is speaking, in a language the mind hasn't learned to hear. We often imagine that the mind is in charge, that thoughts create feelings, and the body simply follows. But what if the relationship isn't that simple? What if the body and the mind are constantly influencing one another, quietly, every moment of every day? Or maybe something even stranger is true. What if your body isn't simply responding to your thoughts? What if it's part of the way you think? Today, I don't want to explain that relationship. I'd rather explore it together. Most of us grow up treating the body and the mind as two different worlds. The body belongs to doctors. The mind belongs to psychologists. If something hurts physically, we pay attention. If something hurts emotionally, we often tell ourselves to keep going. Somehow we learned that a broken bone deserves rest, but a broken week doesn't. But the body doesn't seem to recognize that distinction. Stress settles into our shoulders. Grief quietly changes appetite. Anxiety shortens the breath. Different emotions somehow keep finding different places to live inside us. Without asking permission, the mind keeps writing its story across the body. The philosopher René Descartes famously split mind and body into two separate realities. It's interesting how deeply that idea settled into our culture. Even today, we talk as though my body is one thing, and me is something sitting somewhere behind my eyes. Maybe we've been speaking that way for so long that we forgot it was ever a metaphor. Yet modern neuroscience increasingly suggests something different. Not two separate systems, one deeply connected conversation. It's easy to think of the body as transportation, a vehicle carrying the mind wherever it wants to go. But maybe the body is doing much more than carrying us. It is constantly collecting information. Tiny changes in breathing, heart rate, posture, balance, temperature, hormones, signals we rarely notice consciously. And somehow, our thoughts are shaped by all of it. Picture a specific night. You've slept maybe 4 hours. The next morning, someone sends a perfectly ordinary message, a scheduling question, nothing more. But somehow, you read it once, then again, then a third time. Was that sentence a little colder than usual? Were they annoyed? The message hasn't changed. Your body has. And suddenly your mind begins telling a completely different story. The same message, on a normal night's sleep, would have taken you 4 seconds, and no second thought. Nothing outside changed, yet everything inside did. Maybe the mind wasn't only producing different thoughts. Maybe it was reading the same day through a body that had changed overnight. We often believe emotions begin in the mind, but sometimes the body reacts before conscious thought even appears. Your heart races before you identify danger. Your muscles tense before you decide to be cautious. You step backward before you understand why. Much of this happens beneath awareness. Years ago, the neuroscientist Antonio Damasio found himself returning to a remarkably similar question. Could thinking really be separated from the body that makes it possible? The more he explored it, the less separate they seemed. He came to believe that our feelings aren't added onto the body afterward. I find that idea strangely difficult to ignore. A feeling isn't separate from the body producing it. It's made of the body's signals. In other words, thinking isn't happening separately from the body. It's happening through it. Maybe that's why ignoring the body rarely quiets the mind. Perhaps the conversation was never paused. We just stopped paying attention to it. But the conversation goes both ways. Just as the body shapes the mind slowly shapes the body. A single stressful day may not matter. Months of stress often do. We often think our thoughts shape our posture, but sometimes our posture quietly shapes our thoughts. A body that's been carrying tension for weeks doesn't always wait for the mind to catch up. Constant pressure changes sleep. Endless self-criticism changes energy. Hope changes it too. So does purpose. Sometimes, simply feeling understood changes the way the body carries a difficult day. Sometimes we imagine healing as fixing thoughts. Other times, we imagine it as fixing the body. Maybe it's neither. Maybe it's just finally letting the two stop working against each other. That's harder than it sounds, because most of us have gotten quietly good at not noticing. One of the quietest problems in modern life is that we spend so much time inside our heads that we stop noticing our bodies. Hours pass before we realize we're thirsty, or tired, or breathing shallowly, or sitting with our shoulders locked in place. It's strange. If someone sitting beside us suddenly began breathing differently, we'd probably notice. Yet we can spend an entire afternoon doing exactly that ourselves without ever realizing. Technology makes this surprisingly easy. The mind stays busy. The body becomes background noise. Until one day, it becomes impossible to ignore. Burnout rarely arrives all at once. Long before it does, something quieter has usually already been trying to get our attention. Through sleep, through energy, through focus, through the patience that used to come easily and suddenly doesn't. The body usually sends many invitations before it starts sending alarms. Perhaps the relationship between body and mind isn't about control at all. Maybe it's about attention. We spend so much energy trying to control thoughts, trying to force motivation, trying to eliminate anxiety, trying to become calmer. But attention feels different from control. Attention simply asks, what is happening right now? How am I breathing? Where am I holding tension? What emotion is my body already carrying before my mind explains it? Years later, the physician and author Gabor Maté would arrive somewhere surprisingly similar. He often writes that the body says what the mind cannot. Maybe not because the body is wiser, maybe simply because it has fewer places to hide. That idea feels strangely comforting. The body isn't our enemy. It's simply participating in the same life we are. Maybe the relationship between body and mind isn't a hierarchy. Neither one is leading all the time. Neither one is simply following. Perhaps they're partners, constantly shaping one another, whether we notice it or not. The body remembers. The mind interprets. The body responds. The mind creates meaning. And somewhere in that back and forth, without either one fully leading, The person we experience each day quietly takes shape. Maybe understanding ourselves was never only about the thoughts we have or the choices we make. Maybe that's why understanding ourselves can take so long. We spend years listening carefully to our thoughts, without realizing our body has been part of the conversation all along. Perhaps neither one has ever been trying to lead. Perhaps they have never been arguing with one another. Perhaps they've been trying to protect the same person in different ways. And maybe learning to understand ourselves begins by listening to them both. If you enjoy thinking about life this way, you're welcome to stay. This is DS Perspective.